Okay, we're ready to plant this garden bed here out. As you can see, that garden bed there has been planted out, and it's been planted out according to companion planting and biointensive principles. By that we mean plants are planted beside plants that like each other and that grow well together. That's companion planting. Intensive planting is when you crowd all the plants in so that the leaves just overlap when the plants are mature, as you can see here. And by doing that you get the maximum amount of produce that you can in a bed, and it's nice and healthy. So let's go back and plant this bed. First I'm going to look at the plants that we have in this bed. These are marigolds. Marigolds and calendulas, these two here, are companions for most plants. They exude chemicals from their roots into the soil which keep away eelworms and other nasties like that. So we've planted in there for their companion planting properties. This is a tomato plant. This is a beefsteak tomato plant, which is a traditional old variety. Obviously it needs staking. It has great big red fruit on it. It grows quite tall. Yeah? This is another tomato plant. This is a Russian red. Again, it's another heirloom type variety, and it also grows quite tall. So both of them have stakes. Another companion planting principle is when you use some of the properties of one plant to help another. In this case, we've got lettuce growing underneath the shade of the tomatoes. Lettuce likes it shady, so we've put them around the tomato plants. This, and this are basil. Basil and tomatoes grow well together. They go well together in the pot, they go well together in the garden. And basil is a very aromatic herb, and what it does is, with a very strong scent, confuses insects and repels them from your garden. So basil, tomato, lettuce, they make a good combination. When you've got three plants planted together that go well together, it's called a guild. This is calendula. You can see its flower. It's one of the main companion planting plants, as is garlic, which is just behind it. These three plants here are broccoli plants. Now broccoli plants are quite big plants. As you can see in the garden behind us, the biggest, tallest plants are in fact the broccoli. I've planted between the broccoli celery. Celery is a plant that likes to be shaded. It pushes it up and it makes the stems nice and white and juicy to eat. This is coriander. Coriander is another plant that likes a really cool root run and likes to grow in quite shaded conditions. I've planted it where it can be shaded and protected by the broccoli plants. This here is a pepper plant. It's a heirloom variety known as bullnose pepper. I've planted it out on this part of the bed because it gets lots and lots of full sun, and that's what it needs to fully develop its flavour. It's protected by a sea of garlic around it. As you can see when looking at our bed, there are two things when planting your plants that are really important. One is the spacing between the plants, and two is the arrangement of those plants. The arrangement is in fact the pattern that you use to plant it. Most of ours here are planted in a triangular pattern because that's the most efficient use of space, and the distance between them is based upon what size they will get to when they are fully mature. Now we're going to transplant our plants into the garden. The important thing with transplanting firstly is how in fact that you hold them. Hold them gently by the leaves, don't grab them by the stems, because at worst if they break it's only a leaf that breaks off, whereas if you crush a stem the whole plant will die. Make a hole big enough to take the entire root ball without any constriction. Hold the plant in position and then gently backfill and firm it up. When taking plants out of their container, put your fingers around the stem and then tip the plant over, push the bottom of the plant and slide it out of its container. That way you minimise the damage that you do to it. When you plant that plant you need to dig a hole as at least as wide as what that container hole was and at least as deep. when you're transplanting into your garden, all you have to remember is correct spacing, correct distance between the plants, correct arrangement, that's pattern, and to make sure you plant them at the same depth they were in when they came out of the original containers. And last but not least, don't forget to give them a drink.